Good morning. Hope you're doing good. Today or this week, we're going to learn about Rome. It's a short week, so some of our assignments will be condensed to submit into one. But in this assignment, we're going to kick off, and you're going to be taking some notes on our Roman Empire PowerPoint or early Rome PowerPoint. This is what your assignment looks like, and just a reminder of how you are going to submit this to me. Click the blue share button. Click down here and get link, change restricted to Cleveland County Schools, and change viewer to commenter. And then copy link, go back into Canvas and paste that where you submit this assignment into the URL box. All right. Okay, so we've done Greece last week, and Greece gave way to the development of Rome. When Greece and Rome are in existence, Greece was obviously the powerful civilization and empire prior to the development of Rome. When Rome is a powerful empire, it takes over Greece and controls that land. So it's certainly not happening simultaneously. Greece gave rise to Rome. So maybe you've heard that phrase, all roads lead to Rome. That is a famous phrase because we are going to discuss how Rome starts from literally a village to grow to a city, to grow to a city state that eventually grows to an entire empire. And one of the biggest things and legacies that they leave in Europe is they put a very, very intricate system of roads. And literally, if any road you got on, that road led back to the city of Rome. And those roads are still there today. It's called the Appian Way. You can go to Europe and you can walk on them. So our big focus today, lesson number one, is how did Rome start and how did Rome become a republic? And maybe you recognize that word because if we were in school together, we would at 8:02 every morning stand up and say, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Guess who we copied that from? Copied it from Rome. So let's talk about how Rome started and how it had a republic form of government. First question that you have to answer is about the geography of Rome. And so let's take a look and see what that is. The big thing you have to remember in your head is when I talk about Rome today, if we were talking about Rome in 2020, Rome is just a city. In 2020, Rome is a city. It's the capital city of Italy. And you see Italy here. It looks like a boot kicking a Dorito is what I always say to my students. The Dorito is Sicily right here. But today it's just a city. When we talk about Rome in the time period that we are discussing, ancient Rome, Rome did start out as a small village that grew to a city, but then eventually everything is going to be considered Rome, this entire peninsula, and then everything they take over for the empire is going to be called the Roman Empire. All right. But the actual city of Rome is right here, halfway up the boot. All right. The good things about the geography of Rome, number one, it's built on 7 hills. So it's very easy to defend. The Italian peninsula was not mountainous like Greece was, where it kept people separated so people could unify. Also, the fact that there were not a lot of mountains meant it was great land for farming. And Rome was on a river. And we know it's always good to be on a river because it gives you fresh water. But it was also far enough inland that pirates could not get to it. And like I said, the 7 hills of Rome, which made it very easy to defend. So any of those you can use for your good geography of Rome. So how did Rome begin? The actual founding of what would become the huge empire of Rome. Well, there's 2 things you have to know: the myth and the reality. The mythical founding of Rome is Romulus and Remus. Romulus and Remus were 2 brothers. They were pulled from a river because one of their family members actually tried to kill them. And so they put these babies in a basket and sent them down a river to try to kill them. But a she-wolf found them in the river and plucked them from the river and raised them. And this is them obviously nursing from that she-wolf. And so the 2 boys raised by a wolf grow up, come back to the site that the wolf pulled them from the river, and start and build a town there that grows into the city. Romulus and Remus ruled together until they eventually had a skirmish, had a little fight with each other about who would actually be in charge. Had a lot to do with geese. It's a whole big thing. But just know that Romulus kills Remus, and that's why Rome is named Rome. So Romulus becomes the first king of Rome. That's a lovely and beautiful myth. if a she-wolf found babies in a river, it'd be dinner time. She wouldn't raise them. And if you were raised by a wolf, you certainly wouldn't grow up to be a walking, talking, normal human. So that's not really what happened, but it's a great story. The truth of how Rome was founded is there were a group of people called the Latins, and they came to the peninsula with their Latin language, and they founded the area of Latium, which eventually will be Rome. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't a guy named Romulus, but he certainly was not raised by wolves. Coffee break. All right. Also know there are a lot of other people that are on the Italian peninsula at the time that Rome is starting to be founded. It's not just the Latins. There's also Greeks. There's also Etruscans. There's multiple different groups of people that are settling on this boot. Okay. The Greeks and the Etruscans have the biggest influence over the new Latin people. The Greeks taught the Romans how to cultivate olives and grapes, which means grow. They gave them their Greek alphabet. You're probably familiar. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta. They influence their sculpture, their architecture, and their literature. You're going to see columns in Rome like we saw columns in Greece. And then the Etruscans, here's the 6 things that they influenced for the Romans. Their writing, religion, arch. They're going to love the arch in all of their architecture. Wearing a toga, army organization, and actually some freedom for women. So feel free to pause and fill that in for the Etruscan influence. Okay. All right. So we know that Rome it was started by the Latin people. It was not started by, 2 boys that were raised by a wolf. That's the myth. The truth is that the Latin people founded there and, started out as a village, grew to a city, and then is growing and growing. Interestingly enough, Rome actually started to be ruled in the beginning by Etruscan kings. They were ruled by kings of this area in green. Okay. The problem was these kings got worse and worse and worse. And the last king, his name was Tarquin the Proud, the last king was such a tyrant. He was so terrible and so mean to the people. He was awful. He was so bad that the people of Rome said, no more, we're done. We kicked him out. And so they kicked him out, bye-bye, gone, and swore and vowed, we will never, as God is my witness, we will never have another king again. And so they said no more kings, and they established a concept of a republic. And a republic, if we were together, I would have you repeat this 9,000 times. No king, and some people have the right to vote. That is the definition of a republic for easy peasy. No king, and some people have the right to vote. Not everybody, but some. Some people have the right to vote. So once we create this idea of a republic, we got to figure out how we're going to put people in power, who gets to be a part of the government, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the first thing that happens is we decide if there's no king and some people can vote, we got to figure out who can vote. And so the social classes of Rome are broken down into 2, a patrician or a plebeian. If you are a patrician, you can vote. If you're a plebeian, you can vote on certain things later on, but not initially. So the patricians are wealthy landowners. They're the ruling class. They're the aristocracy. The plebeians are your small farmers, your craftspeople, your merchants. They may be farmers, but don't own a lot of land. They're just kind of, your middle class. I'd be a plebeian if I was in Rome. Okay. Men in both groups are going to be able to vote, but the plebeians are not going to be able to vote on everything. The patricians, though, get to be elected to office, and they get to be high government positions. Plebeians do not get to be high government positions, and the patricians could not marry the plebeians. That way, you can't marry up in social class. You have to be born into the patrician class in order to be a patrician. So those are our 2 social classes. If you look on your notes, you should be filling in right here. So who could vote, patricians or plebeians? Technically both, but patricians have more voting power. And who could be elected to office? Only those patricians could be elected to office. So let's look at the organization of this new republic government. Well, part number 1, at the very top, since we got rid of a tyrant king named Tarquin the Proud, since we got rid of those kings and we said, God's my witness, we'll never have another king again, we say, well, you know how you don't have another king? You put 2 people in power. because a monarchy is when there's only one person in power. So the idea of this republic government was, let's put two people at the top, and then we'll never have another tyrant again because those two people have to agree on everything. So there were two consuls, and they were the rulers of Rome. They had to be patricians. Okay. The fun thing about consuls is you did not serve but 1 year. And after you served, you couldn't serve again for another 10 years. So they were really trying to make sure that there wasn't another tyrant that came to power. The Senate, oh gosh, I recognize that word. That's so strange. Oh yeah, we have a Senate in the United States. The Senate was the representative body for the patricians. They made the laws. They basically ran the government. They did all the action. And at the very bottom was something called the Tribal Assembly, or the Council of the Plebs was the other name for it. And they were the representative body for the plebeians. And they did not have a lot of power to do anything for the people of Rome. So if you're a plebeian, why are you upset? Well, you're upset because you can never be a patrician and you don't get to make a lot of decisions for the people of Rome. So they resented being lower than the patricians. In 287 BC, that's 287 years before the year zero, the tribal assembly, the part that the plebeians are part of, received the right to pass laws for all Romans, not just plebeians. So it took like over 200 years for them to get to start to make any real government action. Okay. In 450 BCE, though, please know, the 12 tables were passed to try to make the plebeians happy. It provided some political and social rights for the plebeians. The 12 tables did, and we copied a lot from the 12 tables and the Law of Nations. The Law of Nations was Rome's law code, kind of like our Constitution, you could compare it to. It was based on reason, and the laws applied to all people, patrician and plebeian. And it gave you some simple things like you're innocent until proven guilty. That sounds familiar. Accused people have the right to defend themselves before a judge. Gosh, I've heard that somewhere before. And a judge was expected to weigh evidence before coming to a conclusion. I know I've heard that somewhere before. Oh yeah, here, because we copied all of those. The early Roman law came up with these concepts, and we copied them, and we have them in the United States, which is crazy to think that they came up with this over 2,000 years ago, and it's something that we use in our justice system today. All right, so that takes you through all of our kind of early intro that you need to know. So let's just make sure, let's recap once again. You can look at your paper and make sure you've got it filled in. Some good qualities about the geography of Rome. It's on hills. It's easy to defend. It's surrounded by water. It's built on a river. It doesn't have a lot of mountains, so there's a lot of land for farming, which is good because you can feed people. Your myth, you need to talk about Romulus and Remus. The truth, you need to mention the Latins. You've got your list of what the Greeks gave and the Etruscans gave that the Romans copied. When Rome began, they had Etruscan kings to rule. What made them switch to a republic? You talk about Tarquin the Proud and being a tyrant, and how they kicked him out and said they were never going to have one ruler again. The difference between a patrician and a plebeian. The consuls are the two rulers of Rome that have to share power. The Roman Senate being the lawmakers, the tribal assembly being the bone that's thrown to the plebeians so they feel like they have some kind of power. And then obviously why that would make plebeians upset because they don't have a lot of political power. Those 12 tables gave some rights and laws, gave some power to the plebeians. The Law of Nations is the law code, much like our Constitution, and then stuff that we copied. And then you need to answer these two. Take the opportunity down here and use your highlight tool, which is up here, and highlight whichever answer you think is correct for that multiple choice. All right, that's our introduction to early Rome. And after that, we will kick off with how Rome starts to transition from a republic to an empire.